Warning: Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Well. It would appear that the other shoe have dropped now, hasn't it? Apparently, MSNBC has tossed Joyless Reid to the wayside. And you know what we gotta do, family. You know what we got to do. Cue the music.
And see, got my funk, got my groove, got me getting even tonight. We gon' party, petty season. Ooh, yeah. You thought I let it slide, but I'm petty and proud, flexing on the dance floor, showing out in the crowd, feeling so fancy. Got my stinger ready. Watch out, y'all, it's time to get petty. Watch out, get petty, don't you fret it. Gonna serve it up, nice and sweaty. Keep it funky, keep it steady. Hey, you, it's time to get petty. Woo, woo.
We have some breaking news here. Joy Reid's MSNBC show is canceled as ratings plummeted. It's going to be replaced with a three-panel host of Simone Sanders Townsend, Alicia Menendez, and Michael Steele. The new president, Rebecca Cutler, is citing that the demographic age of 25 to 54 has been abysmal. And if you don't know, 25 to 54-year-olds is very, very highly sought after. But that's also the age group of where Americans just don't trust the media. The reality is there's a shift in trust in the media. 25 to 54-year-olds simply do not trust the media any longer. This may be too little, too late to save legacy media. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts is she shouldn't have ever disrespected foundational Black Americans. She should have never, ever aligned herself with the system of white supremacy. She should have never, ever opened her mouth using it to push anti-Black narratives while having a melanated face. She should have never, ever trusted them and believed that she was safe. She should have never, ever used her platform to amplify anti-Black racist narratives. She should have never, ever used her platform to speak against our reparations and transformative Black agenda. Oh, no. She is well deserving to receive those papers of the pink. The papers of the pink are well deserved to land upon her desk. And a lot of people would say, man, why are you so happy to see a Black woman fall? To the one I would say, it is no longer about whether you're Black or not. If you're not a part of the lineage and you come here to use your Black skin to undermine the interest of Black Americans, oh, you are on the list. you're definitely on the list, because that means that you're playing into the system and you are a part of the system of white supremacy, and you have no problem using your melanated skin to be a systematic tool. So now that the systematic tool is being broken, I'm supposed to feel something for it? No. They knew the rules. As Professor Black Truth always say, when white supremacy is done with its tools, it breaks them. And as our brother Black Alpha tells us, when you see a broken tool, you leave it there. So am I supposed to be broken up by seeing a tool, and the tool knew what happens to other tools of the white supremacist system? No. I'm going to sit there and I'm going to tell you I told you so. I might just do it in the key of Harvey. I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. But before we move forward, and before I show you why she's all deserving of those papers of the pink, apparently Joy Reid came out and addressed her firing from MSNBC. And so I'm going to let you guys hear what she had to say in her own words.
But I've been through every emotion from,
Uh-oh. Hold up. Hold up.
Anger, but I've been through every emotion from anger, rage, disappointment, hurt, feeling that, guilt, that I let my team lose their jobs. But in the end, where I really land and where I've landed on today is just gratitude, just pure gratitude. And gratitude, not just because people would take the time to get on a call like this, or to take care of me, but also that my show had value, and that, that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I try not to cry on TV. And I think this is kind of like me on TV, so I apologize.
Yeah, no, Joyless. Your show did not have value whatsoever. Joyless. You were used as a tool to attack Black Americans, whether Democratic, whether Republican, whether in the middle. And you did that proudly. When we spoke up about our reparations and our need for a transformative Black agenda, don't think we've forgotten that you all came along and said that we were Russian bots. We were targeting our own community with misinformation, disinformation campaigns. This was you, wasn't it? This was you. You were used to try and combat everything that the Black grassroots was bringing to the forefront. And we were being highly efficient at it, just like we're highly efficient at it now. But one of the real reasons why she was let go, ladies and gentlemen, one of the real reasons why the ratings dropped, one of the real reasons why people are so sick and tired of this woman is because people are so sick of hearing this propaganda getting pushed. Let's start here, family. Let's start with this right here. Right? Let's go here.
Everyone. And at this point, he kind of believes he's the president of QAnon, and it's a problem, right? What Donald Trump has done is set up Joe Biden for this. I think we found out tonight why Donald Trump feared him so much. I just saw this night, I think the whole presentation of it, I think, was directed directly at white working class voters, which is what he's not supposed to be able to win. I think that Joe Biden, he learned a very smart lesson from South Carolina. There was a temptation for a moment that after South Carolina, Joe Biden would develop the theory that he is the candidate that can deliver black voters, because that's what happened in South Carolina. But he's clearly learned that he brought on a running mate who can expand his coalition, everyone. And at this
Now, family, Joy Reid has been glazing up the Democratic Party for so long, and she's been prepping and prepping and prepping them up so high that when they finally got in office, she couldn't do nothing but defend them, because that's her party. And so this is like right when Biden got elected, right? Starting off this August 2020. Okay. Now, this here is when she was speaking to a bunch of so-called or supposed to be elders, but you know, they're really just, as Jason Black called them, the old niggas. And why, and basically she's asking them, why did they support Joe Biden and Kamala Harris?
insights into what the making of the nomination of Vice President Harris to be the nominee, because it didn't just happen by accident.
Well, it starts with Joe Biden.
I was just going to go there.
It starts with Joe Biden. And this is another emotional. Joe Biden talked to us before he made his selection.
That's right.
We actually talked to Joe Biden about what we thought she would add to the ticket and the value she represented.
What we do is...
Now, family, we got to pause it there. Because while all this was going on, the black grassroots was making it very clear that Kamala Harris was an enemy of our people, especially due to her record in California. And that was one of the major reasons why she didn't win the nomination in the first place. That's why she backed down in order to actually accept Joe Biden's proposition to become vice president. And so what these women are saying shows a clear disconnect from the old niggas to the black grassroots, because the black grassroots was telling people like it is. And these folks was too busy being stuck inside of their bubble. Now remember, these were the same kind of people that Joe Biden said he wasn't going to do nothing for, and they had to learn how to work with the Hispanics, who make up a greater portion than you do. That was Joe Biden. And these were the kind of people that he was saying that to. Let's continue.
Learn the rules.
Yes.
Make sure they follow the rules, because you know many times the rules change when you get different things in the process. But the one thing we have always prided ourselves in is making sure we get in there and understand how to move these chess pieces. We try to make sure we understand the rules that we're playing by, and that's what the vice president had the benefit of. We understood the rules.
ladies and gentlemen, they said she benefited because they understood the rules of how to move the chess pieces. But none of these people moved the chess pieces towards anything tangible for the black community. None of these people knew how to move the chess pieces towards anything that would actually benefit us on a grassroots level. The only thing that they can think of, or the only thing that they can do, is put an Indian Jamaican woman, if that, she might just be Indian plus Indian Jamaican, Irish. Give her our history and background and put her into the White House. Is that what y'all knew how to do? That just doesn't make any sense to me. So you telling me you had FaceTime with someone who wanted your vote, and the only thing that you wanted was to push an Indian Jamaican woman forward. Give her our history, our background, and make her the vice president. And see, family? And this is what Joy Reid was responsible for facilitating. These are some of the things that she was used for. But let's continue.
And they couldn't change
during
them on
that
us.
period, the period when the president was really deciding what path he would take. We knew a couple of things, and Donna was very vocal about this, that if he decided that he was not going forward, no one was going to go around the vice president or through the vice president.
That's right.
Period.
Okay, family. So, let's move here. Because if y'all remember during the planned gimmick, they were basically trying to force people to get the jabs. And so, one of the things that Joy Reid did was basically kind of put on this manufactured outrage on her show to kind of make it seem like the Republicans just don't want to whatever. Here you go, family.
And by the way, if you want to do another chart of when you saw the spike in border crossings, because it was down to record numbers under George W. Bush and President Obama.
My bad, family. This is the wrong clip. This is actually the clip where she's trying to defend the Democratic Party on the border crossing situation, because that's what she's there to do. She was there to basically, give a platform to people who wanted to speak highly of the Democratic Party, and then also be the face to defend the Democratic Party left and right. And so when she's asked about the border crossing and things like that, she tried to tie it back to COVID being the reason why it spiked, but she don't want to mention the fact that Joe Biden repealed all the bills that President Trump at the time had put through in order to make sure that the border crossings would cease or would stay very low. So that's what this clip is, family.
If you want to do another chart of when you saw the spike in border crossings, because it was down to record numbers under George W. Bush and President Obama. It spiked again because of COVID. COVID is the spike again. You just look at the chart. All of these crises that Donald Trump inherited a strong, growing economy and managed to ruin it by messing up his one crisis, which was COVID, which is why the border went crazy. It's why inflation went crazy. All of those crises Joe Biden has had to fix. Joe Biden's job creation rate is second only to Bill Clinton. He's not only done, fixed it, he's actually been more successful as a domestic policy president than any modern president. All of the things Donald Trump is trying to take credit for on the campaign trail are Biden things. And Biden needs to run out there and take credit for it.
Well, family, people are tired of hearing that. People are tired of hearing the splaining, the nonsense, when people clearly have access to this kind of information nowadays. See, the problem with the legacy media today versus the legacy media back then is that the internet wasn't so widespread to the public at the time when I was coming up. And so you wasn't able to just do your research and get the information after pulling a device out of your pocket. You would have to do way more in order to get on the internet. Anybody who ever had AOL knows. The dial-up. And the screeching sound and all that other stuff. It sounds like you're trying to send a fax. Nowadays, people have that computer in their pockets, in their hands. Sometimes it's quicker than the computers they have at home. So people aren't stupid. People are able to look up policies. And the fact of the matter is, when Trump left, America was better off when he left office the first time. That's just the truth. And then as soon as Biden came in, he started reversing all of these policies. Hell, he even reversed the policies with the $35 medical assistance or whatever, the copay or whatever. That was a Trump thing that was done, a policy that Trump did. And he reversed that only to bring it back so he can look good on the campaign trail. So while she's sitting here saying, oh, well, all these things Joe Biden actually did and Joe Biden needs to take credit for, people don't want to hear any more lies, especially when they're blatant. Especially when they're blatant. Especially when a person can pull his phone out of his pocket and type in who created this bill, who signed this bill, what administration did this bill get introduced under, what administration did this bill get passed under. But that was her job. Her job is to platform people who speak highly of the Democrats. Her job is also to push the Democratic talking points and narratives. Matter of fact, let's go back in time. Let's go back in time. 2020, when we were sitting here speaking about reparations. Let's go here.
I want to push your timeline back a little bit. We first saw there's a small group of black cybersecurity specialists and me started seeing these birther attacks on Kamala Harris last September when she launched her presidential bid. And that's where this whole, are you a real descendant of an African-American family or an African-American slave, started popping up. It dipped until about January. You did a segment on your show, and then we saw this explosion of real people. They're not all bots. They are real people. They're trolls who are this small fractional fringe group led by a former black conservative, and that was picked up quickly by other conservatives. And then we started seeing the automated, non-organic cyber amplification of their message.
So family, this was the first stages of them trying to basically detach us from being able to speak our minds. Because at the time, they was deplatforming a lot of people. If they thought you were a bot, they were just deplatforming you. And that's what was going on. And a lot of it was because of rhetoric like this that she herself allowed on her show, that she herself brought forward on her show and platformed on her show. Saying, if we ask for anything, oh, we're bots. If we're saying Kamala's not black because she's not, then we're bots. Fast forward, those same people are saying the same thing that we were saying back then, and she still wasn't able to win because more people have done the research. But let's let this dude continue.
And then when the discussion about reparations came out, their entire argument is crazy. The argument is when you were picked up on that slave ship from Western Africa, and if you were dropped off in Curacao or in Dominica or Bahamas or Jamaica, then you are less of a black than a slave who was dropped off in Charleston, South Carolina.
You see the clear deception, the intellectual dishonesty? Because all we've said is, if you are not a part of this lineage here in America that went through chattel slavery, then you are not entitled to the amenities that we are as people who built this country. And you're not entitled to reparations if you are not a part of this lineage, because there is no harm to you in this country that we built with our stolen labor. There is no tie to you for that. You have no lineage to us, which all reparation programs have been based upon. Harm to a lineage. And we also understand that racial reparations would not pass anything. It is illegal. And this is when they was counting that we didn't know any of that stuff. So they were out there trying to spread this false information about us, trying to say that the information that we're spreading is false because we're being exclusive and not inclusive for our reparations claim, when nobody else have a claim but us. But he tried to make it seem like it's about being blacker.
It is a horrible form of black racism that has now been harnessed to be a voter suppression tool, because their entire campaign is don't vote for anyone who is not dropped off in Charleston, South Carolina in the 17th century.
No, family. The whole premise is don't vote for anyone who isn't bringing any type of tangibles or policy to your community. It don't matter whether you was dropped off in Charleston. It don't matter if you was dropped off in Jamaica. If you're sitting in that representative seat and you're supposed to be representing us, then you're supposed to be representing us and bringing tangibles to our communities. That's what a representative done. Politics is nothing but a fight for resources. So why isn't our politicians fighting to bring resources to our communities? It's because they're fighting to put resources in other people's communities. And a lot of those communities are immigrant black. And you can't say they're not immigrant black, because a lot of the people that are in these positions are immigrant blacks. When you look at the Congressional Black Caucus, 70% or more black immigrant. When you look at a lot of these NAACP chapters now, a lot of them are black immigrants. And a lot of the people that goes to Congress who are working in Congress right now, a lot of those people are black immigrants. So no, we have a right to delineate ourselves from everyone else, especially when our interests aren't aligned. Especially when they're undermining our interests, when we're telling people what we need, and people such as this is sitting here talking about this is bot behavior. This is troll behavior. Let's go to this one. This one has Big Bird.
There are some people who are pushing the issue, ulterior motive, and if I could explain, whenever you see people online refer to reparations, and the only hold.
I'm gonna restart that, family, because there was a little skip there. But this is Big Bird with the Antifa. Is it Antifa? In Cobra. That's right, in Cobra. And some of the stuff that this man said here was just outright stupid. And he knows, I'm pretty sure he knows it's outright stupid. But I'm going to play it and I'm going to let you hear for yourself.
Who are pushing the issue, but they have an ulterior motive. And if I could explain, whenever you see people online refer to reparations, and they only hold Democratic candidates accountable. And then they say, if Democratic candidates don't support reparations, then black voters should stay home in 2020. That's how you know those people are genuine representatives of the reparations movement.
So, anybody who's telling you that you should not just be giving away your vote for free, anybody who's telling you that you're owed a debt, and if they're not willing to pay your debt, while going around giving everything to everyone else, anybody who's speaking about reparations as an actual policy issue, oh, they don't represent the reparations movement? Make that make sense.
And we saw that type of exploitation in 2016. We want to make sure that our community, this go around, is not subjected to sort of what is really a cyber COINTELPRO, where an issue in our community is infiltrated and exploited and used against us. And it's time now more than ever. The organizations like NCOBRA and the National African American Reparations Commission, Joy, speak out to say these are the real and genuine positions on reparations.
Who in the hell give you the right to say what the true positions of reparations is? Especially when you don't speak for the people, and we've made that very clear. We don't know you. And for a group that's been fighting for 30-something years for the same damn thing, we don't trust you. He's trying to make reparations synonymous with the Democratic Party in voting. Well, anybody who says that you should hold the Democrats, just the Democrats accountable. Didn't nobody say you need to hold just the Democrats accountable. However, we've been voting for the Democrats for a majority 60 plus years with nothing to show for it. See, Joe Biden getting elected in 2020 was one of the best things for Black Americans, especially foundational Black Americans, to see. Because all the things that they said they couldn't do for us, we was able to watch with our own eyes as they did it for everyone else. Joe Biden said that, you will always have my back and I will always have yours. And then immediately turned around and started giving funding, housing, and everything else to a bunch of illegal immigrants after cracking the border back open. And let me rephrase that, to illegal invaders after cracking the border wide open. While we're sitting here calling for an anti-black hate crime bill, the Democrats use the death of George Floyd to get in office, only to give our hate crime bill to Asian Americans. And then the whole accountability committee he was supposed to have for the police, he said, no, I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not going to do that no more. Congress should do that. Congress should do that. And it was those things that made people look at the nonsensical stuff that this man was saying and say, no, especially with the U.S. aid. Granted, we didn't know about the U.S. aid until after, but still. Watching Biden do what the Democrats did for the past 4 years, especially when it comes to funding, and ignoring us until they saw that they didn't have the coalition that they thought they had. Those are the things that made us realize that this dude, not us, but the people that the new black media were trying to educate, that's what made them realize that we're telling the truth and that we were the ones that's absolute. And you ain't really heard that much from Big Bird, have you? Not recently. Because we got him out of the paint. But let's let him continue.
Not what some are saying where they say, well, we don't believe in the Pan-Africanism, which is blasphemous to the reparations community. This is 100 years since first.
That part, family. This man gonna say not believing in Pan-Africanism is blasphemous to the reparations movement? How so? Our reparations is not contingent on being a Pan-African. Nor do we get to go to anybody else's country and put claim into their reparations claim. So what he said makes absolutely no damn sense whatsoever.
Say these are the real and genuine positions on reparations, not what some are saying where they say, well, we don't believe in the Pan-Africanism, which is blasphemous to the reparations community. This is 100 years since the first Pan-African Congress held by W.B. Du Bois, when they say that only those who are descendants of slaves in America matter. First of all, many in the black activists and black intellectual community don't even say slaves anymore. We say enslaved people because we embrace the glory of our ancestry.
Right.
That's a giveaway when you see that type of rhetoric. And then lastly, when people exclusively talk about immediate cash payouts, if a Democratic candidate doesn't support immediate cash payouts, don't support them. Well, in COVID, the National African American Reparations Commission have been saying it's not even just about that. It's about entrepreneurial development. It's about access to capital. It's about healing, much like the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa.
Yeah.
So when
And how were those Africans living over there in South Africa in comparison to the people who had them apartheided? Don't worry, I'll wait. Don't worry, I'll wait. See, these people here were pushing the narratives that was given to them by the DNC. And it was Joy Reid's job to platform it. It was her job to platform it. Just like it was her job to platform this nonsense.
You see the same thing in Hungary. Like the Orbanism of the party is, it's rooted in returning white Christian men, but also white men and white adjacent men, you know, black men, brown men who are like white adjacent, white men and white adjacent men, you know, black men, brown men who are like white adjacent, white men and white adjacent men, you know, black men, brown men who are like white adjacent, white men and white adjacent men, you know, black men, brown men who are like white adjacent.
Family. This has been her job. This has been her job. She's been running around here doing this for a while now, 10 years. She's been platforming this kind of nonsense, and she's been talking about us in whatever way the Democrats tell her to. This is more of the bot nonsense.
That you think as a person, you follow them or they follow you. They appear to be a human, but they have a big gap, as Adam just said, in the times that they've tweeted, and they tweet you. Should you respond to them?
Generally, no. I mean, off the bat, you should stay back and just sort of watch their engagement, how many times they're tweeting, what they're tweeting about, and even the topics in particular. And a lot of the ones that are pretending to be black people, or black women in particular, who are focusing on black identity, have these sort of aspects in the ways that they're talking about language. If we saw the other day, there was an account that was supposed to be for black supporting Howard Schultz. That account was eventually pulled down, but that was a prime example of someone trying to mimic support from the black community for a particular candidate. So these kinds of things that are happening at this moment, we have to pay a little bit more close attention to it, because there is nuance, but there are also identifying factors. For example, right now from the Black Identity Framework, there's a new sort of hashtag and or identity that's in their bios called ADOS or DOS.
Well, this didn't age too well for ADOS, did it? And I'm not talking about the people who identify as ADOS. I'm talking about the organization. Because now they're in the same position trying to do to us what Big Bird and Cobra was trying to do. But I digress.
Which is standing for descendants of slaves. So it's the indication that they are someone who was born in, as a descendant in the United States, who is representing Black America and has the vernacular and the language that people would believe is someone who's a part of our community, who's either debating about Camilla or debating about Booker, because that's who just announced, and trying to say, we know who's the most, who's Black in America, and making sure that they're, sort of talking in this vernacular that makes it look like that they are in support.
Black American.
Now, family, they're talking around the whole issue. The whole issue was not whether or not she was black. We knew she wasn't black, especially if you lived in California and read any of the news articles when she became Attorney General. She was the first Asian Attorney General, the first Indian American Attorney General. There was articles all across. You can Google it. This is my point, family. People get tired of the rhetoric, the lies, the manipulation. Let's go here, family. Because like I said, all they do is tell lies, and then they got to cover the lie. They tell lies, and then they got to be a sympathizer to whoever they're lying for once it comes out that they're doing exactly what we already said they were going to do. This is her trying to cap for Biden due to the inflation situation.
Here use the word inflation are journalists and economists. right? So that is not part of the normal lexicon of the way people talk. So it's interesting that Republicans are doing something they don't normally do, right? Which is not use the common tongue, right? Not use just common English to sort of do on their campaigns like they're doing with crime. But what they've done is they've taught people the word inflation, right?
Yeah.
Most people who would have never used that word ever in their lives are using it now because they've been taught it, including on TV, including in newspapers. They've been taught this word.
Family. So people are using the word inflation because they've been taught the word, not because they see it in their everyday lives because of the the Biden administration. Oh no, they're only using it because, you know, the Republicans were so efficient at teaching people the word inflation. Really. So when Obama came into office and, you know, they had the housing crisis and the auto crisis, and they were talking about how, you know, those bills would put us into inflation if he was to bail them out and all that other stuff. We never heard about inflation before the Republicans. Right? That's how stupid they think people are.
Taught people the word inflation, right?
Yeah.
Most people who would have never used that word ever in their lives are using it now because they've been taught it, including on TV, including in newspapers. They've been taught this word, and they sort of wrap this word around whatever it is that they really want to vote, the reasons they really want.
Family, like I said, people are tired of the rhetoric. They're tired of the lies. And they're tired of the hypocrisy. Here she is speaking about the pardon and how when Trump left and he was pardoning people, it was one thing. But when Biden left and he started pardoning people, there was no issue. So let's get there.
Originally meant to grant the president the power to temper justice with mercy. It was not enshrined in our Constitution so that a dishonorable man could reward his criminal allies, friends, and family for their corrupt practices. I don't have a problem with Biden pardoning his son. He should have pardoned them. The crazies are coming, right? But to me, it's like, pardon more.
People get tired of shills doing everything in their power to make sure the dominant society sees them so that they can get their butter biscuits or their pat on the head. Here's another example.
Being committed to him, she said, because he had these little babies who had lost their mom. And so I wasn't going to go into this unless it was for life. Mm-hmm. That this had to be a commitment for life, or I wasn't going to do it because I didn't want to put those babies through that. And so that is the kind of couple they are. And even in just reading the pool note and the closeness of this family, it is another contrast with the other family that's on the table. Because you just can't imagine. I mean, Donald Trump has grandkids too. But, you know, just the interactions, sort of physical interactions that they had at the convention just felt so cold and sort of clinical and sort of, you know, it didn't feel real. You really don't see Melania. It's just a difference.
Can I say, I just
all
think
families are different.
Yes, all families are different. So we'll leave it there. But
being committed.
Notice how the napkin women, they were like, well, all families are different. They tried to clean it up for her because they knew what she was saying was literally targeting, even though you tried to make it seem like, oh, you know, I know Donald Trump has grandchildren, but you know, he's cold and clinical, and they like, hey, don't put us up in that. Don't you dare put us up in that. Don't you put us up in that. And there are several times that she's on a panel with, you know, these type of folks in the dominant society, and they had to correct her a few times. a few times. But let's get into this because, like I said, her job was, she has two jobs, one job really, to mimic what the dominant society is telling her to say, to make sure to undermine the black grassroots while doing so, and for the people who are either on the fence with the Democratic Party or who are diehard Democrats, your job is to fearmonger those people and to make sure that they get their ass back on the Democratic plantation if they even thought about stepping off of it. So let's get into some of the fearmongering.
Let's just be clear for everybody who's watching this right now. What Republicans are saying is they're going to make it torture for you to vote in line by having fewer machines, beat up machines, places where, in urban centers, places where black folks live, suburbs where black people live, make it impossible or torture for you to vote in line. And then they're going to make it impossible for you to vote by mail. They're going to lock off every way that you can vote. And then even if you survive all of those restrictions and you finally get your vote in, then they're going to say, ways out. We're just not going to count what you did because we don't like who you voted for, so we're just going to give it to the other guy. This is the end of democracy in America. This is the beginning of the South Africa strategy. This is minority rule. This is saying we will rule over the objections of the majority of the American people. This is the most serious thing that we've seen happen since the January 6th siege. It's another kind of siege. It is absolutely bizarre, and it is, I won't say it's un-American. It's probably kind of in a way. It's old school American. It's Jim Crow American. Latasha Brown, who is in this.
Family. I got more examples. Here's another example.
They're voting on race. They're voting on this idea of an invasion of brown people over the border. The idea that they can't get whatever job they want. A black person got it, therefore drive all the blacks out of the colleges, get rid of DEI. That is what they're voting on. They're just voting specifically on racial animus at this stage. It isn't about economics.
No, which is why Trump killed the immigration bill.
Correct.
That's why. And because otherwise he can't run against the other and brown people and people who don't look like him, like his supporters, his base of supporters coming across the border and scaring people and killing people or whatever he's threatening out there. I mean, if you look at some of these exit polls, I mean, I live in Virginia. Immigration was the number one issue. I mean, again, these could change in Virginia.
Well, Virginia does have a border with West Virginia. Very, very contested area.
Build a wall. Like, what? I mean, when I was in New Hampshire, people were talking about the northern border as a threat. Because Trump has indoctrinated people with this fear of people who do not look like them being a threat to them.
But as you know, I mean, in every election cycle, when
while we on Jen Psaki, I just found it very hilarious that while I was putting together this list of clips to show you, I came across, well, actually I didn't come across it. I was on the MSNBC website and this popped up on my screen.
MSNBC presents a new podcast hosted by Jen Psaki.
Hold on, family. Hold up. Wait a minute.
MSNBC presents a new podcast hosted by Jen Psaki. Each week, she talks to some of the biggest names in Democratic politics with the biggest ideas for how Democrats can win again. The Blueprint with Jen Psaki. Listen now.
Okay, let's restart that because I had a little technical difficulties. But yeah, I came across this ad here.
MSNBC presents a new podcast hosted by Jen Psaki. Each week, she talks to some of the biggest names in Democratic politics with the biggest ideas for how Democrats can win again. The Blueprint with Jen Psaki. Listen now.
Yeah, so I found it funny that Joy Reid's been let go, but, Jen Psaki is still there with no problem. And they're promoting her and a new show. And then Simone Mammy Sanders, the former linebacker, is getting a show with Michael Steele and some random napkin woman. God, I mean, loyalty doesn't go far at all with the thieves, huh? There's no loyalty amongst thieves. But let's continue.
Has indoctrinated people with this fear of people who do not look like them being a threat to them.
But as you know, I mean, and every election cycle, particularly when there's a Democratic incumbent, we get reminded about the borders. And the borders become a thing again, and then if there's a Republican in office, we don't think about them anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the deficit and the border. Like you make these things an issue, you make them into boogeymen, you make them into something that grabs you from under the bed at night as soon as you wake up. As long as there's a Democratic incumbent to blame on it.
Family, isn't that what the Dems have been doing the whole time? Especially when Black Americans are talking about racism, they only want to mention racism if they can point the finger at the Republicans about it, if they can point the fingers at Donald Trump about it, if they can make it look like it's coming from the other side. They have no problems discussing racism, but they will never discuss the options to fixing it. They will never ever discuss when we tell them we need to fix these issues. Oh, they don't even want to hear it. But they will admit it exists if only and only. If and only if. I said that wrong. But if and only if they can point a finger at the Republicans and say racism. When the Democrats are just as racist. And a more dangerous kind of racist. Let's be very clear about that. But let me move on to this other example of the fear mongering.
No, absolutely. I'm sure the doctors are exhausted. And, you know, Jason, there is a term called necropolitics, which is essentially the politics of who gets to live and who gets to die. And these states, what they have in common is that they have structures which say that Black and brown lives matter less. And so all that matters is the Black and brown people get their behinds into the factory and make me my steaks, make me my stuff, get there and do my nails, work, get back to work now and do the things that I, the comfortable, affluent person, need. Isn't that what we're seeing? I mean, that's what it feels like to me. Necropolitics in states like Texas.
Oh, yeah. The Hunger Games would be more humane, right? If they made people line up and fight for vaccines, at least then you have a fighting chance. No, they're just going to starve people. And it's always seemed ironic to me that the party of supposedly family values is basically saying, you kids starve, auntie starves, uncle starves, and my wife and my smart son get to eat and get to live and get the vaccine. That is essentially what's happening here. And here's the problem. It used to just be an issue of harming Black and brown people. But this is harming what's left of the Republican base. Mississippi's a red state. They're killing a lot of their own supporters. Yeah. Texas is a red state. Even though it's through suppression, they're killing a lot of their own supporters. So it's not even political. It's just nihilism and an absolute lack of empathy for the human impact and the catastrophe that so many Americans are living through right now.
Yeah, and let's not forget that in a lot of these states,
they didn't expand the Medicaid program on purpose. They turned down money to expand a program that could give people health care. That's the state we're talking about.
Yeah. No, absolutely. There's a reason they call it necropolitics. It's vicious.
All right, family. So, like I said, those are the examples of some of the fear mongering that, she's been doing over the years. And I gave you some examples of all the stuff she's been talking about us in the Black grassroots over the years. And now I'm going to give you some examples of why she actually got released. Why they actually came and handed her the slips of the pink and told her she has 72 hours to clear out her desk. Allegedly. This is just my opinion. I think I believe I assume, in the words of TD Media. Shout out to him. But let's start here.
Matters, but stopping Trump, the Republican Party, and Project 2025. Nothing else matters but stopping Trump, the Republican Party and Project 2025 in November. You have 119 days to get right with that and get comfortable with that. That's all that matters, okay? And the only way to stop them is with our votes. Let's not be trying to play games with these kinds of small things to try to pull us into a direction. All that matters in this election, and I genuinely mean this, all that matters in this election, the only thing that matters in this election is keeping Donald Trump and Project 2025 out of power. Keeping that insane ideology of white Christian nationalism and white supremacy and white male Christian dominance out of power. That's all that matters.
Family, that could have been put in the fear-mongering category too. Well, it absolutely should be, but I think that this is the lead up to the let go. So I want to show the nonsense that she was doing that kind of led up to it. Now, we know the situation with Megyn Kelly. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. But let's hit this up here too. She was out here trying to convince everybody that, and this is after this actual situation here was after Amber Rose went out and gave her endorsement. And so she basically trying to shame Black Americans into voting for Kamala, talking about we look real weird if we don't support her and all this other nonsense. But let's get into it.
Hey fam, okay, I just gotta say it. Given the just stratospheric entrance of Vice President Kamala Harris into the presidential campaign, and she has now secured enough delegates to become the nominee, you're gonna look real crazy being on the other side of that line, particularly as a person of color, but really as anyone who claims to have any connection to the culture. You're gonna look real weird and real lonely on that side. The door needs to close behind Amber, and she looked crazy over there, but shut the door behind her. You really are gonna look crazy being on that side, given the cultural phenomenon of Vice President Kamala Devi Harris. She's about to make history. She's about to become the first woman president. She brings together the African American community, the AAPI community, younger people. She is a whole meme. And I'm going to explain to y'all the fall of the coconut tree is a whole West Indian thing. She brings together all of the aspects of the culture. HBCUs, she's a Howard graduate. The Divine Nine, she's an AKA.
I can't anymore. I can't. I was going to let it finish, but I just can't, family. I just can't. This didn't age well at all. She lost badly on all sides. And while she's sitting there saying that Amber Rose is looking weird and anybody who didn't vote for her is going to be looking weird, she's looking weird as hell every time she puts her face in front of a camera. That's just what it is. It doesn't matter if she's looking like this or looking like this. Yeah, you look weird whenever you get in front of a camera. So no. We're not going to let you continue here. Let's move on to the next thing here.
Have you noticed how sharply the polls have shifted in Trump's favor over the last couple weeks? With these claims that Trump is surging with Black and Latino voters and leading in every single swing state, according to secret internal polls, despite all the Hitler talk. Yes, this race will be far too close. Because unfortunately, we do have a fascist groundswell in parts of this country, mainly among white men, let's be clear, but in small pockets among Black and brown men too.
Wait a second. So you was running around here calling Black men fascists, right? And And now those same folk that you're sitting here calling fascists, or that you were calling fascists, we're laughing at you. Because we're still here. And you're out of a job. But let's continue. I'm sorry. I just forgot that she called us fascists as well. Even though I included this clip. Let's continue.
This happens to be a global phenomenon as women become more economically independent and seek positions of power.
Yeah, that is the whole feminist thing that's going on there that didn't work out too well for you there, did it, Miss Joyless Reid? Where are the feminists to stand up for you in your job? That's a question I want to know there. Where are all the people that you had on your show to speak up for you and offer you a job? I'm just guessing that that's not going to be happening. I don't see you ever getting back into the media. I know that there's a Tether podcast coming somewhere. Maybe you and Tiffany Cross Eyes will get together and do From Tether to Turf. I don't know. But yeah. No. Let's go here.
This election is no longer about the old guy that's in the White House now. Like, you know, all the op-ed pages and the New York Times can run around and opine about, you know, what Joe Biden should do. And, you know, y'all have fun with that. Enjoy yourselves, intellectual thought leaders. I no longer care. Doesn't matter to me anymore. It's above me now.
For context, this woman was running around here after Biden had that horrible loss on the debate stage where everybody had to admit that this man had some rocks loose in his skull. He was clearly battling dementia. Yeah, she was one of the first ones, but many of them came out talking about they don't care how old Joe Biden is, that we just can't let Trump get in. They was telling you to allow Weekend at Bernie's to get another 4 years. And they didn't give a damn what his condition was. But I'll let her continue.
There's a Waffle House next door. There's a Best Western next door as well. It's above me now. It's above Joe Biden now. Don't care about Joe Biden's age, infirmity, that he shuffled when he walked. I don't care. He could be seated for the rest of from now to election day and never get up off a chair. He could sit down. He could roll around in a wheelchair. He could be on a skateboard, seated. I don't care. Donald John Trump cannot be allowed back into the White House. Because if you combine that madman with this court, two of whose members are insurrectionists, one of whom flew an upside-down flag at his home and blamed it on his wife, who's also crazy. The other of whose wife literally was part of the insurrection. And they ruled in this. They put themselves in the Leonard Leo 6. They went ahead and ruled on this with no shame. You combine this court, two of whose members are going to immediately resign and put 30-year-olds in there, including probably the guy who wrote the opinion in the beaters case, meaning that beaters should be able to get machine guns, which, by the way, they have now arrogated to themselves the power to decide all federal rules. Everything, whether your plane that you fly in is safe, how much carbon can be in the atmosphere, how much filth can be in your water. They said agencies that have experts can't decide that. They will decide that. So they are kings, and Trump is king. You put him in the White House, combined with this court and a Republican House and Senate, we're done, y'all. All the rights that were won in the 20th century, the hard-earned rights of women, laborers, workers, the rights of children. Remember, child labor used to be legal. The rights of black folks. Listen to Taraji P.
Notice when she started talking about the different rights, she listed the rights of black folk last. She listed the rights of women, the rights of children, but none of them fought for those rights. Those rights were actually given to them over time. The only people that fought for their rights were and is Black Americans. Even white women, when they were fighting for the right to vote, many of them already had the right to vote. Well, those who owned property had the right to vote. But the only time there's been fighting for what's right and equitable, is when we got out there to do it. But she made sure the black folk, because that's her last concern.
White men, unchecked and untaxed, amassed great wealth, passed it down with no taxation to their descendants, the 20th century, because they don't like it and they want back the 19th century. Laborers, workers, the agencies that have experts can't decide that. They will decide that. So they are kings, and Trump is king. You put him in the White House, combined with this court and a Republican House and Senate, we're done, y'all. All the rights that were won in the 20th century, the hard-earned rights of women, laborers, workers, the rights of children. Remember, child labor used to be legal. The rights of black folks, forget that. The rights of non-white immigrants, forget that. All of the 20th, they are trying to repeal the entire 20th century, and they're doing it fast.
All right, family, we're not going to continue that video either. She's insufferable. She is truly insufferable. And I don't want to make you suffer any longer. We're already at an hour mark, an hour and 11. And I want to make sure we get up out of here before the 1:30 mark. So let's get to the real reason that she got her butt kicked to the curb. For thinking that she had the power, that she had the leeway to now point the finger at the dominant society, but not just the dominant society, the women in the dominant society. Openly on the legacy media platform. Let's get into it.
You know, it's a state that I think Democrats definitely were reaching for. There was a lot of work to try to turn out the college campuses, which were really thick and really packed, and try to turn out the suburbs. And I think there was a lot of hope because of just the insanity, can we say fairly, of the person who's running for governor in that state, and a thought that, you know, defeating him would also carry Harris in. But in the end, you know, if they didn't make their numbers and essentially exceed the numbers that Joe Biden had in the suburbs, and I think we have to be blunt about why. Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not. That is what it appears happened in that state, is that if you can't flip enough white women, and we've talked about this on this set numerous times, is that you have a state where you've got a 6-week abortion or a 12-week abortion. I think theirs might be 12 weeks.
Yep.
But it's a state where women lost their reproductive rights, where there was a very heavy push to get women to focus on not putting in place, re-electing, putting back into the White House the person who was responsible for taking those rights away and restoring them. But that message obviously was not enough to get enough white women to vote for Vice President Harris, a fellow woman. This will be the second opportunity that white women in this country have to change the way that they interact with the patriarchy. And, you know, God bless Shannon Watts, who has tried to have that conversation. But if people aren't receptive to it, and if people vote more party line or more on race than on gender and on protecting their gender, there's really not much more that you can do but tell people what the risks are and leave it to them to do the right thing.
Translation. White women, you need to get on code against your men. It's supposed to be about women. It's supposed to be about us. It's supposed to be about feminism. And that was a bad message, not only to send to the white woman, but to the white man that she sits next to, even though she claims to be a feminist. You don't think he heard that? You don't think they heard that together? You don't think that you had a target on your back as soon as you said that on their legacy platform? And this was just a whole, what is it called? The hole in one on this one right here. This was the piece of cake that everybody came after, apparently. The nail in a coffin. That's the proper term. I'm over here coming up with all different terms. I don't know where those came from, but yeah, this was the nail in the coffin right here.
Hey, I just want to give some free advice to the white progressives, particularly white progressive women who may be thinking about marching against the Trump victory, maybe putting back on the P-word hats and doing that thing. I would just say probably don't send any of those invites to any black women you know. I'm just going to tell you right now, they're not coming. I'm pretty sure black women have resigned from the Save America Coalition, Save Democracy Coalition, and definitely the Save the Democratic Party Coalition. I think that's probably not happening. I would just keep those invites maybe among your own friends, because I don't think they're coming. But yeah, I think black women are now on the Save Black Women, Prioritize Black Men, and Prioritize Black Communities, Black Businesses, and that. And, you know, the black spaces, but Save America, Save the Democratic Party. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. Hey.
Yeah, family, how dare you? How dare you think that you were going to sit there and tell white women not to expect from black women when it's your job to make sure that black women do what is expected of white women? How dare you? How dare you sit here and say you're going to prioritize the black community when your whole job is to disrupt and defer the black community to whatever programs and to whatever policies we want them to have? How dare you? And see, Megyn Kelly came out, she did her video, and I'm not going to play that clip because I did a whole dang broadcast on that. However, she did come out and she basically said the same thing. She didn't go as deep. But the truth of the matter is, it's the how dare you of the situation that got her fired. How dare you think that you're one of us and you think that you can look up to us and then look down on us? No. We look down on you always. You're our bootlick. You're our puppet. You work for me. I don't work for you. You have forgotten your place and your position. You had one job and you couldn't do that one job. So, we gotta let you go. Here are the slips of the pink. You have 42 hours to evacuate the premises. Now, family, you know you got some of these people that's in the so-called 92% that are out here chiming in on this. And I want to let you get a few of them. I want you to hear a few of them because I find it all hilarious. Let's start here.
NBC is out here saying the quiet part out loud. You've decided to remove Joyless Reid's show, and I take that personally because I feel like in the era of politics that we're in, there is no reason you should be removing someone in the 92% from your show lineup. You know better. But actually, I forgot. No, you don't. You see, Joy and Mika kissing the ring is not the only problem over at MSNBC. You have historically had a problem with black women on your network. And I am so glad I stopped watching you and started amplifying voices like Roland Martin, because you all...
Wait a minute, family. So one, she didn't even watch Joy's show. She didn't even watch Joy's show. She said she stopped watching their network and started amplifying voices like Roland Martin. These are your 92 percenters? Is this your king? Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'll try to talk a good talk, but the reality is behind the scene, you are highly problematic. You know good and well people watch Joyless Reid. Now you remove her voice from your network. Think we are not supposed to.
You know good and well.
No, good and well people watch Joyless Reid. Now
Just not you. You're just not one of those people. You can't make this up.
you remove her voice from your network. Think we are not supposed to notice? Oh, okay. You and the Democratic Party that needs to regroup till you decide to amplify the voice of the 92%, you'll never prosper. You refuse to listen to the very people who have continually done the work and led movements. And like I've said, if you all are looking for something else to watch, feel free to watch Roland Martin. I'm not just saying.
Roland Martin ain't got no sway in these streets either. Why is she so gung-ho off of putting Roland Martin over? I don't understand this. She is 92%ed up until you amplify the voices of the 92%. I am so amused. These people really live in the psychoses. Jesus Christ.
And that because I went to Texas A&M either. But be mindful what you are watching and supporting at such a time as this. I'll never support MSNBC again. You are really going to have to prove something to me to get me to ever turn it back on that network. Because right now, I'm through.
Well, family, these people are out here boycotting everything. Target, McDonald's, Walmart, MSNBC. Even though Joyless Reid wasn't fired yet, they was boycotting it already anyway. Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's get to this one.
This message is for Joyless Reid. Joyless Reid, I just got out of church and I just heard that MSNBC canceled your show. Now, to you, Joy, I want you to know that you are being supported. We support you wherever you go. Just let us know where you would be. And
who is we? Who is we? Ma'am, I don't know if you're talking about you church folk. I don't know if you're talking about you elderly. But down in the black grassroots, we're good. We're so good. But continue.
And we're following you. You're out here telling us the truth. And you know that's not what they like. So.
The truth? She's out here telling us the truth. Honestly, these are the people that follow her. These are the people that couldn't even keep her ratings up. They're saying, we're going to follow you. Oh, whoa. And she's out here telling the truth, guys. She's a truth teller.
MSNBC, you just messed up. You just messed up. You will be going down. Your ratings were going down until 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. But we're Central Time here in Texas. So you will be going down. Big mistake. Big mistake. But Joy.
What does she think can be done if the show already had bad ratings? I mean, the network overall have bad ratings. All of their shows. So do you really think that this is about the ratings for them? Spoiler alert, it's not about the ratings for them. It's not about the ratings for them at all.
We got you. Joy cometh what? In the morning. We're here for you. Just advise us where you would be. YouTube, wherever you are, we're there. All right? So, hate to hear it, but it's okay. MSNBC, you're an idiot. You are an idiot. You could not stand your own grounds, but that's okay. Joy Reid, again, please let us know where you are. We will follow you. It doesn't matter what platform, we are following you. You're the best, and we thank you for your time that you've given us on MSNBC, The Idiots. All right? Love you, Joy. Let us know. Keep us posted.
Fam. Here's another one.
Goodbye, Joy Reid. If you haven't already heard, Joy Reid is getting her show canceled. That's right, the popular news and politics personality is getting her show canceled. And a lot of people are upset about this. This is MSNBC's current lineup. As you can see, Joy is the only black person to have a show on primetime. And so understandably, some in the community are feeling a little bit hurt and betrayed. I personally have mixed feelings about this, because I wasn't a big fan of the Joy Reid show, but I am a massive fan of Joy Reid herself. She is incredibly intelligent and also fearsome. She is not afraid to talk about the things and say the things that need to be said, and as a result, her show is getting the axe. But here,
family, do you see that they're trying to create this narrative that she's this truth seeker and she's just unapologetically telling the truth, and that's why they're giving her the axe? Really? Really? You know what? No. Here we go.
I stick by it. I call you a handkerchief head Negro. I call him a handkerchief head Negro. And I'm sticking with it. Google it.
I can't say nothing else. Matter of fact,
I stick by it. I call you a handkerchief head Negro. I call him a handkerchief head Negro. And I'm sticking with it. Google it.
here's where my mixed feelings come in. Firstly, I don't think that legacy media or regular media, meaning TV, is that big of a deal. As we've seen with Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A., she can take it online. She can start a podcast and she can focus on YouTube and social media.
No, she can't, because she ain't got no grassroots support. That's the problem. Stephen A. Smith, he got, the little races that he catered to. Shannon Sharpe had a following before he left. And he wasn't fired, he left. Or maybe he was fired. Either way, he still had a following. This woman do not have a following, nor will she gain one, because she is an incredible person. Just like how Roland Martin's whole situation is in shambles because he's not a credible person. That's why I'm sitting here laughing that the other chick was talking about, or go follow Roland Martin. I started giving my attention to Roland Martin. This is your king. Let's continue.
Also, do you remember her? Do you remember Melissa Harris Perry? Yeah, she was the first one to get the boot from MSNBC. And Joy was very happy to step into that spot. And I never really liked that. I felt like as a woman of color, as a fellow black woman, she should have supported Melissa Harris Perry.
Oh. So you thought because, she was a black woman, that she should have just, did what a logical person would have done, but because she has no connection to that woman, she didn't care now, did she? She stepped right into that position because that's the position she's been waiting for. That's the position she's been tap dancing and cooning for. But she's this truth teller, truth seeker, unapologetic.
Who got the boot from MSNBC because she didn't want to talk about what they wanted her to talk about. Also, if you've never read her book, The New Jim Crow, you need to read it. I'm not the biggest fan of MSNBC. I find them to be like Fox, but on the other side. You know what I mean? It's not really like actual news. It's more like people's opinions.
So you admit that it isn't news, it's opinions. But yet you said it was Fox on the other side. But yet you still think that Joy Reid, one of the faces of the network, was a truth teller and unapologetically telling the truth? See, this is the nonsense people spew when they have no common sense. Common sense truly isn't common, is it? Jesus, let's go.
I definitely understand how this can be problematic. So what are your thoughts? How do you feel about Joy Reid losing her show? And if you want more videos like this, you just gotta follow.
Let's get to, I guess you can call her a 92%er. Not. Anyway, even the, napkin women are out here. Good Lord, give Joy Reid back her job. She was a good negress.
Of MSNBC canceling Joyless Reid and the readout 4 days after they, on their Blue Sky account, congratulated her for winning not one but 2 NAACP awards. You need to grow a pair, MSNBC, and quit being so afraid of Donald Trump and his underling, Elon Musk. It's ridiculous. Rehire her, put her back on the air.
That is Tom Petty. They knew they was about to fire her. Now, oh, congratulations on your reward. Excuse me, congratulations on your award. Now, here's a pink slip to go along with it. Have a nice life. Bye-bye. Yeah. That. But I think we can end with this, family. I think we can end here. I could get petty and just play this again. You know what? Let's do it.
MSNBC presents a new podcast hosted by Jen Psaki. Each week, she talks to some of the biggest names in Democratic politics with the biggest ideas for how Democrats can win again. The Blueprint with Jen Psaki. Listen now.
All right. We're going to end off with the Megyn Kelly response to Joy Reid being fired. I have to do it. Screw it.
The big news tonight will be Joy Reid's final show on MSNBC. Single tear, white woman tears happening right here, Joy. She was officially fired over the weekend because she's a racist, horrible news anchor with no ratings. And that's really been the truth for a long time. MSNBC's under new management, and I guess they decided to come to grips with reality. The truth is, this is very sad news for us, as she's provided so much material over the years. I feel the way I felt when Brian Stelter got fired, but he came back, and you never know. I'm sure Joy Reid will wind up doing something where we will continue to get to respond to her absolutely insane POV. The big news tonight.
Joy. I wish you would have, actually listened and paid attention to the Black grassroots. And I wish you would have had your come to Jesus moment with us. And I wish it would have been before this, because now you ain't never going to come back. I wish it would have been during the time where you had your show and you could have really done something with the Black grassroots. You could have really spoke to people about reparations and why it's necessary. You could have spoke to people about the delineation movement and why it was necessary. You could have spoke to us and really had content. But instead, you decided to play the game, but not the game that you should have played. You played the game they wanted you to play. And now you're out on your ass for thinking that you can be the white woman. Like I said, I knew it was going to happen. Everyone knew it was going to happen. Except you. Nellie Fuller said it best. If you don't understand white supremacy, what it is, and how it operates, everything else that you think you understand will only confuse you. And you were way too confused, living with foggy eyes. Well, I guess the fog have to clear up eventually, right?
That's